Each year, it was an essential ritual. My family, together with a few of our closest family friends, would go camping in a remote forest in Wisconsin. It was a tradition spanning generations, bonding us with campfire nights, the smell of damp pine, and most importantly, the annual snipe hunt. My name is Alex. Back then, my sister and I, along with all the other kids in the group, were swept up in this bizarre yet thrilling prank, orchestrated by my father and his best friend, Uncle Billy. If you've ever heard of a snipe hunt, you'd know it's basically just an elaborate practical joke. Snipes aren't real. They're simply products of imaginative storytelling and adults' joy in teasing children. Dad and Uncle Billy spent the entire year dreaming up new, exciting, scarier ways to build our excitement and nerves. To us kids, the snipes were real, and we devoured every detail they described. They portrayed snipes as bird-like creatures with extremely aggressive temperaments, said to hide in tall trees during the day and only emerge after the sun had fully set. To heighten the drama, they added chilling details: glowing eyes in the dark, calls that sounded like scratching on dry wood, and a particular fondness for preying on children who wandered off. Each year, as we packed for the camping trip, my sister and I became wildly excited, thinking this would finally be the year we'd see a snipe with our own eyes. That excitement consumed us the whole trip. The moment we arrived at the campsite and the RV was settled, we immediately begged Dad and Uncle Billy for new snipe stories. That year was no different. We arrived Friday afternoon, and by Saturday morning, all the families were settled in. Dad and Uncle Billy knew it was the perfect time to begin their mission. During lunch, they whispered to each other, occasionally glancing at us with serious expressions. Finally, Dad gathered all the kids, ages 6 to 12, and began the performance. He spoke in a dramatic whisper. "Tonight, we're going to try and catch a snipe. Last night, Billy and I both swear we heard it calling right outside the RV." Uncle Billy added with a perfectly convincing face. "Yes, this time it was closer than ever. I think it's lurking around here. It's fast and smart, so we'll need to work as a team." At that, all of us kids became wildly excited and slightly frightened. Some shrank back, asking if they really had to go. But my sister and I were all in. We whispered strategies to each other all afternoon, discussing our best ideas for catching a snipe. We had read all the stories and believed this was our once-in-a-lifetime chance. The entire day we were giddy with anticipation. We checked our equipment, mostly flashlights and some sticks we'd found, making sure we were prepared for the legendary encounter. As the day wore on, the atmosphere at the campsite grew increasingly tense. Finally, the sun began to set, painting the Wisconsin sky in orange and purple. Dad gathered all the brave or gullible kids. A few carried big sticks as defensive weapons or for combat. One little kid even brought a homemade wooden sword, taking the mission very seriously. Dad warned us about the dangers and the need for silence. He said Uncle Billy had gone ahead to scout the area and set traps. We began walking in a long line, our flashlights pointed at the dark forest ahead. The snipe hunt had officially begun, and none of us knew that tonight would not end with harmless laughter like every other year. The children's excitement faded as we began moving deeper into the dark forest. I, along with the other kids, tried to follow my father's instructions to stay quiet and close together. The Wisconsin woods at night were truly eerie. The towering trees seemed to touch the starry sky, and even the smallest sounds were amplified. We followed my father along an old, worn trail with only the weak light from our flashlights flickering and casting dancing, ghost-like shadows across the ground and trunks. We had been mentally prepared to hunt a mysterious creature, but now facing the real darkness. Many kids began showing fear. I could feel the tension in the air as each child gripped their stick or wooden sword tightly. My father led the way, occasionally turning back to whisper reminders to keep pace and stay silent. He said, "We were approaching the hunting zone." Uncle Billy had prepared. 10 minutes of walking passed as slowly as hours. My heart pounded. I was ready for anything. But I also began to wonder whether we'd actually find a snipe or if this would be another futile hunt. We were passing through an area filled with maples and oaks, their dense canopy blocking most of the moonlight. Suddenly we heard a sound. It was a loud, forceful rustling from a thick bush right above us, as if something large had been startled and fallen from a tree. The noise was too loud and too sudden. We all looked up, our flashlights swinging wildly through the leaves. In that instant, a figure burst out of the bush and dropped right in front of us. It was Uncle Billy. But Uncle Billy was not okay. His entire face and part of his shirt were smeared with a dark red liquid that looked like blood. He curled up, clutching one arm, and screamed a chilling cry. "Run! It got me! The snipe! It's real! It's in the trees!" This performance went far beyond anything we had imagined, with the descriptions of the vicious creature and Uncle Billy bleeding. Every doubt vanished. We kids, including my sister and me, were absolutely convinced a ferocious snipe had attacked him. Chaos erupted instantly. All the children began screaming and scattering. The terrified cries mixed with my father's voice as he pretended to panic while telling us to stay calm and follow him. Flashlights were thrown or swung wildly as the kids bolted into the woods. I, only 8 years old at the time, had no idea it was just a prank. Fear consumed me completely. I was certain the bird-like creature we had been warned about was right there, probably leaping down from the branches. I didn't think about where to run or anything except escaping. I sprinted deeper into the forest, not following my father, my sister, or anyone. I crashed through bushes, not caring about branches slapping my face or roots tripping my feet. I ran as fast as my small legs could manage, hearing only my own ragged breathing and the snapping of twigs beneath me. After a while, when the screaming and chaos behind me had faded, I slowed down, exhausted, my heart pounding violently. I realized I was lost. Around me was an area with fewer dense trees, but still dark and frightening. I found a temporary shelter, a large tree with gnarled roots, and beside it a huge, thick bush. I dove into it, burrowing deep among the leaves and branches, trying to make myself as small as possible. My only goal was not to cry or make a sound. I held my breath and listened. I waited for the snipe's call, footsteps chasing me, or any sign that I had been found. Minutes passed in absolute silence, except for my heartbeat thudding like a drum. I heard insects buzzing, leaves rustling softly, but no yelling and no snipe. Slowly, my initial terror shifted into cautious alertness. I carefully and slowly peeked out through the leaves. The forest was still pitch black, but my eyes were adjusting. And right then, as I looked out, I saw it. I looked out through the curtain of leaves, my eyes straining to pierce the dense darkness of the forest. The silence that followed the children's panic was somehow more terrifying than the initial screams. I had hidden so well that it felt as if I were the only person left alive in the vast woods. And then I saw it. It was a creature moving slowly across a clearing between the trees, not too far from where I was hiding. My first feeling was confusion because it looked like a dog, but immediately my young mind had to process its astonishingly abnormal features. If it was a dog or a wolf, why was it so tall and thin? Its legs were unnaturally long and spindly, like fragile stilts holding up a much larger body. When it moved, its thinness was emphasized by the strange way it held itself, almost as if it barely touched the ground. Its height was far beyond that of any normal dog, almost reaching that of an adult human, if you counted the shoulders. And its head, I still remember that head. It looked warped and deformed, lacking any clear shape that belonged to a familiar animal. It seemed stretched or maybe crushed and pressed into an unnatural form. I couldn't make out facial details, but it gave an awful impression, like something that shouldn't exist in nature. Its body was also strange. Instead of thick, healthy fur like a coyote or wolf, it had only sparse, patchy clumps of matted fur scattered across bare skin that was dark and seemed diseased. It looked filthy, sickly, and horrifying. I, at 8 years old, had no words or experience to identify what I was seeing. It wasn't a dog nor a bear, and certainly not the imaginary snipe my father described. The creature walked slowly, almost like a weary shuffle, as if carrying an invisible burden or suffering a deep injury. Even from my safe distance, I could hear a faint sound coming from it. A low whimper, almost like a moan. I was strangely mesmerized. I didn't want to look at it, my body trembling with fear, yet I couldn't turn away. There was a pull, an awful fascination towards something so inexplicable and dreadful. The longer I stared, the more a deep, overwhelming terror crawled into my mind. Years later, I still remember that feeling clearly. I didn't have words for it then. But now as an adult, I'd call it utter horror or a sense of impending death. It wasn't just fear of physical harm, but a revulsion at something that violated every rule of nature. I was trapped in a kind of daze or trance. I didn't move or breathe. I was only a pair of eyes watching, completely consumed by its horrific presence. In that moment, I forgot the snipe hunt, forgot my father, forgot that I was hiding. My entire existence focused on the grotesque creature moving slowly across the clearing. Its faint moan sounded like eternal suffering, or perhaps simply the sound it made while moving. I don't know how long I stared. It might have been 30 seconds or a minute. But to a child, it felt endless. I still remember its colors, the pale skin mixed with black patches of fur, and its tall, limping frame. And then the silence broke. I heard someone calling my name. Alex, from far away. The call was accompanied by the snapping of dry branches and the rustle of leaves. The strange creature stopped immediately. It didn't turn its head slowly. It froze and its deformed head snapped toward me, and it looked straight into my eyes. That eye contact, that cold recognition shattered my trance. The moment it looked at me, it was no longer a pitiful creature. It was a conscious predator that had found its target. The eye contact lasted only an instant, filled with dreadful understanding, but it was broken by something else. It was my father. He rushed in his hand, grabbing my arm. The moment when the bizarre creature and I were locked in silent eye contact was suddenly shattered as I felt a strong hand seize my arm. It was my father. He grabbed me and quickly lifted me up, almost pulling me out of the bush where I was hiding. His sudden appearance broke all my focus, and he immediately began scolding me, his voice a mix of relief and anger. "Alex, how wildly did you run off? I've been looking for you everywhere. Do you know how worried everyone was? It was just a joke, son. Just a joke. I'm sorry we scared you." I was sure a storm of emotions was running through him. The panic of a father whose child had gone missing, and the embarrassment of a prank spiraling out of control. But to me, none of that mattered, because all I could think about was the horrifying creature I had just seen. Even as he carried me away, I kept trying to twist my head back to look. I wanted to confirm it was still there, wanted my father to see it too, but it had vanished. The spot where it had stood was now only an empty patch of darkness between trees. I didn't even hear it run. Something that large should have made noise, rustling leaves, snapping branches. But there was nothing. It simply melted into the forest. My father kept apologizing, but I barely heard him. All I could think of were those long, spindly legs, the deformed head, and those aware, terrifying eyes. As we began walking back toward the campsite, I finally found my voice. "Dad, I saw it," I said, my voice shaking with leftover fear and tears. "I saw the snipe. It didn't look like a bird. It looked like a dog, but really tall, and it was whining." I described every detail I could remember. The limping gait, the thin legs, the patchy fur. My father listened more patiently now, holding me tighter and trying to soothe me. "No, son, it couldn't have been a snipe. Snipes aren't real. It was a prank. Maybe you saw a big coyote or a sick fox. You were running fast, you were scared, and the dark made you see things wrong. That was the year I learned snipes weren't real. The truth should have eased my fear of the imaginary bird creature, but instead, it deepened the terror of what I had truly seen. If the snipe was a joke, then what exactly had I watched? I tried for years to convince myself it was just a coyote or a rabid stray dog. That was the most reasonable explanation. But something deep inside me always knew it wasn't right. Even as a child, I sensed a wrongness. Something not belonging to this world in that creature. Something no normal animal could evoke. I didn't know why I felt that way. I had no background knowledge of supernatural beings. It wasn't until many years later when I was grown and happened to hear about Skinwalkers, part of Navajo belief, through a documentary or online article that everything clicked. When I learned more about their descriptions, entities that can take the form of animals or wear their skins, often appearing misshapen, unusually tall, diseased, and sometimes able to mimic voices, though I only heard it moan. My instincts told me it might be the only explanation. Nothing else matched the horror or the sense of wrongness I felt. To this day, I have no certain explanation. I was too young that night, and a child's mind can easily be distorted by fear. Who knows? But even now, as an adult living an ordinary life, sometimes when I'm biking or hiking in the woods, out of the corner of my eye, I feel like I see it again. The feeling that it's still out there somewhere watching me. Every story is just another whisper in the dark. If you've experienced something truly terrifying, send it to Dark Whispers Audio. Let your story be told in the night. Subscribe now, for the darkness still holds many secrets.